Well, hi there, everybody. It's KOMO 4 Chief Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. 2024 nearly a wrap, and weather-wise, it was a pretty quiet year, wasn't it? A lot of people remarking that it was one of those mild years that they remembered from their childhood, especially throughout the summer. Just had a little bump in July where we were slightly above average temperature-wise for the entire month. But overall, it was pretty nondescript, and we're wrapping things up a little bit above, a little bit below normal from time to time, but nothing too extreme in terms of the temperatures. We did, however, have a couple of standout weather events in the year 2024 around Western Washington, including round after round of the Northern Lights and, of course, the infamous bomb cyclone. For more on that, here is the KOMO 4 weather team.
Painting the night sky in brilliant hues of pink, purple, and green. Space scientists call it a geomagnetic storm, but many know it as the Northern Lights or Aurora Borealis. This phenomenon dazzling the dark sky in May. While the naked eye isn't able to see the full range of colors, a camera lens can. KOMO News viewers capturing the colors dancing in the sky. From Mount Storm King, along the water in Tacoma, from the San Juan Islands, and even in the heart of Seattle. The Aurora Borealis we see on Earth is something that begins 93 million miles away on the surface of the sun. Sunspot clusters can sometimes erupt, emitting bursts of energy into space. The energy eventually making its way to Earth, interacting with Earth's magnetosphere, causing a disruption in a form of light. NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center forecasting a severe to extreme geomagnetic storm in May. On a scale of 1 to 5, it ranked between 4 and 5, or severe to extreme. Then in October, another spectacular show firing off as level 4. Partly cloudy skies not stopping photographers from capturing the beauty above Western Washington. While the vibrant colors are a sight to see, space scientists say geomagnetic storms can cause disruptions on Earth. Navigation systems, power grids, radio communications could be affected. In 2003, an extreme geomagnetic storm shut down power in Sweden and damaged power transformers in South Africa, according to NOAA. But the impacts from the geomagnetic storms in May and October, minimal. 2024 going down as the year of Aurora Borealis, the peak of an 11-year solar activity cycle. Stella Sun, KOMO News.
The summer of 2024 brought some extreme heat, even breaking some records around Western Washington. There were several stretches of heat in the low 90s, but the hottest streak of broiling temps came in early July. From July 4th through the 8th, some new record highs were set in our area. Monday the 8th was the scorchiest. SeaTac Airport hit 94 degrees, just shy of the record of 95. Tacoma and Olympia rewrote their record books. Tacoma hit 95, blowing past the record of 88. Olympia was near triple digits that day, hitting 98 degrees. The old record for the Olympia Airport weather station was 95. On July 8th, SeaTac had a low temperature of just 67 degrees early that morning, according to the National Weather Service, a new record high minimum for the date. And during the streak of hot weather, a red flag warning was also up for parts of the Cascades, with low humidity and gusty winds increasing the fire danger. At the same time, the NWS warned that people in many parts of our area were at moderate to major risk of heat-related illness. According to Public Health Seattle-King County, there were 36 emergency department visits for heat-related illness countywide between July 4th and 7th. Sunday, July 7th, saw a high of 16 emergency department visits for heat-related illness in just King County. During the height of the heat, SDOT had to hose down its drawbridges to keep them cool and keep steel parts from expanding and jamming. This video the city tweeted out at the time is from a previous heat wave. Another hot streak showed up in Western Washington in early September, but that one didn't get quite as sizzling. Theron's on KOMO News.
Of all of the memorable weather events of 2024, the one we won't soon forget might be the notorious bomb cyclone of November 19th. A benign dip in the jet stream over the Pacific that Tuesday morning exploded into an extremely strong area of low pressure by evening, deepening into an intense 942 millibar storm. It became so massive that it tied as the strongest low ever recorded in that part of the ocean. The dramatically low barometric reading put the storm on a similar scale to a Category 4 hurricane, and it certainly resulted in similar wind damage.
As the deep low approached, it acted like a giant vacuum in the sky, pulling air into its center at an increasing pace. Much higher pressure was in place in eastern Washington, and the pressure gradient between the two forced easterly winds to pick up from the Columbia Basin and blow out to sea. The Cascades created a barrier between the high and low pressure, but the easterly winds, they found their way through the gaps in the terrain, twisting and turning through the passes and racing to the bottom of the mountains. Winds will accelerate through tight spaces, so by the time the air was released into the valleys below, it was howling at a whopping 50 to 75 miles per hour. Towns like Enumclaw, North Bend, and Monroe were ground zero for the severe gusts. These Cascadia winds continued for hours as the low hovered offshore, resulting in over 700,000 without power during the peak of the storm. Thousands of trees were damaged, if not brought down altogether, and unfortunately, the storm proved deadly for 2 people in western Washington. The storm was so deep and grew so rapidly, it qualified as a bomb cyclone.
This atmospheric term was first coined in the 1940s when Norwegian meteorologists called rapidly deepening storms sea bombs. By 1970, atmospheric scientists researching similar storms at MIT referred to them as bomb cyclones and published a paper further defining bombogenesis as lows that deepen at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. However, it wasn't until the term was picked up by social media in the 2010s that the phrase bomb cyclone entered the general lexicon.
While sounding a bit dramatic, it's important to have distinct terminology for describing such weather events so that the public will be able to distinguish when a regular fall storm is approaching versus a much more dangerous and deep area of low pressure.
Seeing how the November 2024 storm dropped a whopping 66 millibars in only 24 hours, it certainly was worthy of the bomb cyclone moniker. For KOMO 4 News, I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell.
2024 was the year of a repeating promise.
La Niña.
La Niña.
La Niña. La Niña.
A La Niña weather pattern set to develop and bring colder and mountain snowier impacts to western Washington. October and November triggered early season dumpings of snow, covering the slopes. Crystal Mountain and White Pass ski resorts were able to open early, before the Thanksgiving weekend. And by December, Crystal Mountain slopes snowpack were 20% above normal. White Pass more than 40% above normal, topping a year prior by 20 inches. But early December also brought an abrupt shift in momentum. 60-degree weather at Paradise Mount Rainier.
So it's actually a little warmer up here.
A multi-day inversion developed. It's a meteorological setup where much warmer weather at higher elevations sits above much colder air. At the same time of this,
Beautiful blue skies.
meanwhile, Seattle, beneath the clouds, had freezing fog. That warm mountain air temporarily shut off the mountain snow, delaying the Summit at Snoqualmie ski resort's opening until December 17th. And rain would later temporarily close Mount Baker. But Christmas time brought more snow. Another 4 inches for Crystal Mountain, but also a headache for drivers.
The weather, crashes, and chain enforcement led to traffic on the interstate.
Temporary road closures for Snoqualmie Pass, and in the backcountry.
Tonight, emergency workers warning of the threat of avalanches in parts of the Cascade.
An early season avalanche warning after rapidly changing weather over all that snow. And here we are now at the end of the year, and La Niña, which was forecast to develop most of the year, still hasn't officially. We'll see if it does before the end of winter. George Waldenberger, KOMO News.
So bomb cyclones, northern lights, tsunami warnings, and some lowland snow. It has been an interesting weather year in 2024 in western Washington. But in terms of precipitation, our rainy reputation not really coming to fruition, at least not at SeaTac. We're wrapping up the annual rainfall totals nearly 7 inches below normal. So that's quite significant. We'll see if we can improve on that as we head into 2025. For the KOMO 4 weather team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell.